The nationalization of banks during the Russian Revolution, 1917. Picture yourself in Russia at the dawn of the 20th century, a land of vast contrasts and simmering discontent. The Russian Empire, ruled by Tsar Nicholas II, was plagued by social unrest, economic inequality, and political repression. The country was on the brink of transformation, with revolutionary fervor sweeping across the land. Against this backdrop of turmoil and upheaval, the Russian Revolution of 1917 erupted like a wildfire, fueled by the aspirations of workers, peasants, and intellectuals for justice, equality, and democracy. In February of that year, mass protests and strikes in Petrograd, now St. Petersburg, led to the overthrow of the Tsarist regime and the establishment of a provisional government. However, the provisional government's grip on power was tenuous, and the stage was set for further upheaval. In October 1917, the Bolshevik Party, led by Vladimir Lenin, seized control of the government in a dramatic coup d'etat with the slogan, "All power to the Soviets." The Bolsheviks embarked on a radical program of social and economic transformation, aiming to dismantle the capitalist system and build a socialist society. One of the key measures taken by the Bolsheviks was the nationalization of banks. In December 1917, the Soviet government decreed the transfer of all banking institutions into state ownership, effectively centralizing control over the country's financial system. This move aimed to break the power of capitalist financiers and establish state control over credit and finance, laying for the groundwork for the planned economy envisioned by the Bolsheviks. The nationalization of banks was a pivotal moment in the Russian Revolution, symbolizing the Bolsheviks' commitment to socialist principles and their determination to reshape Russia's economic landscape. However, it also marked the beginning of a protracted struggle to consolidate power, as the new Soviet government faced internal dissent, external threats, and the challenges of governing a vast and diverse country in the midst of war and upheaval. The nationalization of banks during the Russian Revolution of 1917 had both positive and negative consequences, profoundly shaping the course of Russian history. By nationalizing banks, the Bolshevik government aimed to consolidate control over the country's financial system, centralizing economic decision-making in the hands of the state. This allowed for greater coordination and planning of economic activities, facilitating the implementation of socialist policies, such as centralized planning and state ownership of industry. In theory, this centralization of economic control was intended to eliminate exploitation by capitalist financiers and promote the common good. The nationalization of banks was part of a broader effort by the Bolsheviks to redistribute wealth and resources more equitably among the population. By placing control of banking and finance in the hands of the state, the government could redirect funds towards social welfare programs, infrastructure development, and other initiatives aimed at improving the living standards of the working class and peasantry. This redistribution of wealth was seen as a step towards achieving greater social justice and equality. In the midst of the chaos and instability of the Russian Revolution, the nationalization of banks helped to stabilize the country's financial system. By bringing all banking institutions under state control, the government could regulate and oversee the flow of capital, ensuring the functioning of essential financial services such as lending, credit allocation, and currency exchange. This stability was crucial for maintaining economic order and preventing financial collapse during a period of revolutionary upheaval. The nationalization of banks led to the disruption of financial markets and the loss of confidence among investors and depositors. Many foreign investors withdrew their capital from Russia, fearing exploration and instability, while domestic entrepreneurs faced uncertainty about the safety of their assets. This disruption contributed to economic dislocation and capital flight, undermining the government's efforts to stabilize the economy and promote growth. State control over banking and finance often led to inefficiencies and stagnation in the financial sector. Bureaucratic red tape, political interference, and lack of competition stifled innovation and entrepreneurship, hindering the development of a dynamic and responsive banking system. Without the incentives provided by market competition and profit motive, state-owned banks struggled to adapt to changing economic conditions and meet the needs of consumers and businesses. The nationalization of banks allowed the Bolshevik government to wield financial power as a political instrument, using access to credit and resources to reward loyalty and punish dissent. The state-controlled banking system became a tool for consolidating the regime's authority and suppressing opposition, as funds were allocated based on political considerations rather than economic merit. This politicalization of finance undermined the impartiality and integrity of the banking system, eroding public trust and confidence in state institutions. The nationalization of banks laid the groundwork for the command economy that characterized Soviet Russia for much of the 20th century. While this centralized economic model initially allowed the government to implement ambitious industrialization and modernization programs, it also led to inefficiency, bureaucracy, and stagnation in the long run. The lack of market mechanisms and incentives for innovation hindered economic growth and contributed to the eventual decline of the Soviet Union. The nationalization of banks during the Russian Revolution of 1917 involved several key figures who played significant roles in implementing this transformative economic policy. Let's delve into the lives and contributions of some of the most prominent individuals associated with the nationalization of banks. As the leader of the Bolshevik Party and the architect of the Russian Revolution, Vladimir Lenin played a central role in the nationalization of banks. Lenin believed that the financial system was a tool of capitalist exploitation and sought to establish state control over banking and finance as part of his broader vision for building a socialist society. Under Lenin's leadership, the Bolshevik government issued a decree in December 1917 nationalizing all banks and financial institutions, effectively transferring control of the country's financial system to the state. Leon Trotsky was a key ally of Lenin and a leading figure in the Bolshevik Party. As Commissaire of Foreign Affairs and later a Commissaire of Military and Naval Affairs in the early Soviet government, Trotsky played a crucial role in consolidating Bolshevik power and implementing revolutionary policies. Although Trotsky's primary focus was on military and foreign affairs, his influence extended to economic matters, influencing the nationalization of banks, which he viewed as essential for consolidating the gains of the revolution and defending the new socialist state against counter-revolutionary forces. Alexander Shalpidnikov was a prominent Bolshevik revolutionary and trade union leader who played a key role in organizing workers in the banking and finance sector. As head of the Metal Workers Union and a member of the Central Committee of the Bolshevik Party, he advocated for the nationalization of banks as a means of empowering the working class and advocating and advancing the socialist cause. He played a crucial role in mobilizing workers to support the Bolsheviks' efforts to seize control of financial institutions and establish state ownership over banking and finance. Nikolai Kerensky was a Bolshevik revolutionary and diplomat who played a significant role in the early Soviet government. As People's Commissaire of Finance and later as People's Commissaire for Foreign Affairs, Kerensky was responsible for implementing the nationalization of banks and overseeing the transition to state control over the financial system. He worked closely with Lenin and other Bolshevik leaders to develop policies aimed at centralizing economic control and building the foundations of a socialist economy. Gregory Sokolnikov was a Bolshevik revolutionary and economist who played a prominent role in shaping Soviet economic policy during the early years of the revolution. As People's Commissaire of Finance and later as People's Commissaire of Finance and State Control, Sokolnikov was responsible for implementing the nationalization of banks and overseeing the management of state-owned enterprises. He played a crucial role in developing economic plans and policies aimed at promoting industrialization, collectivization, and socialist transformation. The nationalization of banks during the Russian Revolution of 1917 marked a pivotal moment in the history of Russia, leading to the establishment of a centralized, state-controlled economy under Bolshevik rule. This event laid the foundation for the Soviet economic system, characterized by state ownership of banks and industries, centralized planning, and a command economy. While intended to promote socialist principles of equality and collective ownership, the nationalization of banks also contributed to economic inefficiency, bureaucratic control, and political repression in the years that followed.